Hello everyone, welcome to Nerds in a Box. If you're watching for the first time, welcome to Nerds in a Box. I'm John Dwyer.
Dan Kiefer.
Tessa Barlotta.
And we're a weekly podcast where we talk about all kinds of nerdy things, geeky things. We talk about comics, movies, video games, things like that. Next week's topic is going to be about video games, not to tell you anything more about it. But get excited about it, it's going to be really great.
Yep.
But tonight we're going to be talking about favorite superheroes. So we're going to be talking about, what we define as a superhero for us, and then some of our favorites. So we each picked a favorite before the show, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Favorite superheroes.
Well, it's more like what separates like A-list, B-list, C-list.
True.
Like, what specifically makes a superhero enter that realm of like everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
True. Well, I think there's certain traits that everyone can connect to. I mean, Superman, he's not only is he like that all-American hero for DC, because he was kind of like the first superhero of his kind almost, that he could do all these incredible things. He protected America, he stood up for America and for Earth, but mainly America was his home. And he came out in a time, when it was very pro-American sentiment. That feeling was going around, and so a lot of people latched onto that. And as he went on, he got more and more powers, and I think he just became everybody's hero because he was a favorite hero, and then that got passed on down to generations, and so he's just a staple. Everybody knows Superman.
Yes.
Everybody knows Superman. It's very simple. You don't have to think about his name. It's literally Superman.
Like, even if you see the logo, you're like, oh, that's Superman's logo.
Exactly.
Isn't it like in like the top 5 recognizable symbols in the world or something? I feel like it is.
Everybody knows that symbol around the world. It's incredible how well known he is. And Batman, I think a lot of people connect to Batman partially because of his, people like exploring backstories, things like that. And he's got such a rich history to tap into. And also, he's just a badass. Like, Batman, a lot of people talk about whether or not Batman and Superman can win in a fight. I mean, with everything Superman can do, the fact that Batman, they're even having that conversation,
it's pretty impressive.
it's pretty impressive, because Batman is incredibly smart, he's got all these gadgets, he's rich. I mean, I think why people like Batman is because he is just a human. Like, he doesn't have anything other than a lot of money, and for people that look at him, it's like, oh, I could be a superhero if I just had a lot of money. And on the Marvel side, we've got, now the A-list is Iron Man, Captain America. So we're pretty much a lot of people in the Avengers, but it seems like Iron Man, Cap, and Thor are the main ones that they're focusing
the big
on
three.
now. And it's interesting to see like why they're the A-list now, because
is it a question of like the movies or not? Because Cap always was.
Exactly.
But Thor and definitely not Iron Man.
Iron Man was so low on the totem pole for the
Little
longest
buckethead.
time.
Yeah.
He really was. He was a little buckethead. But then, like, the movies started coming out, he got more comics, he got more interesting, I guess.
Well, and they developed, and he also kind of, even before the movies, he had that whole alcoholism arc that I think once he got more popular with the movies, people read more comics and were able to tap into that more tragic backstory for him.
Yeah, true.
Again, are they more popular just because we know them better, or because are we able to know them better because they're so well written?
I mean, I think there are like multiple categories that it's based off of. Like, I honestly think powers play a part. Whether or not we'd like to admit it, we are interested in certain powers, and we are not interested in other powers.
Yeah.
But so you got powers, you got backstory, you got character development, and then you have I had something else that was going to be really cool. Oh yeah, relatability.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think after those 4 categories, you're able to kind of grade superheroes based off of like those to see how popular they could be. And I'm sure writers do that as well when they're writing these characters, being like, hey, I wonder if I write this, what are people going to think?
So.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And what separates like an A-lister from a B-lister, it seems like the B-listers a lot of times tend to deal with more outer-worldly elements, like, Doctor Strange is a big B-list character for Marvel. Martian Manhunter, we'll be talking about him later, like, yeah, he focuses primarily on Earth, but he's Martian. His name is Martian Manhunter. So he comes from outer space, and I think with these heroes there comes like a sense of that we understand what they're going through, the battles they're facing in terms of like whether it's America, whether it's Earth. We understand it. With Doctor Strange, that one's out there. He's got so many crazy things that he deals with.
So many different dimensions.
Yeah,
Exactly.
astral planes and stuff. Yeah, I think another thing about B-listers it also taps into like political and social minorities too, which is also I think why they're raised up above C-list, but they're not quite A-list as well.
Covering that, talking about that, we're actually going to start with you, Dan. If that's
Okay, yeah, no, that's
We're going to
fun.
talk about your favorite superhero.
And it's kind of fitting that we were talking about like the lower tier, like C-list and D-list, because like my favorite hero is actually a pair of heroes is Cloak and Dagger. You've heard me talk about their comics before this, and they've always like really been an interest to me. And it wasn't until more recently that I read all of their comics, started writing a movie for them. But I just really learned to love them because of their character dynamic with each other. And yeah, but their dynamic is so interesting because they're Tandy and Tyrone, Cloak and Dagger. Dagger's ability of light also emits heat. And if she has too much light energy, she burns up. Like when she first started, she needed to release that energy. Cloak, on the other hand, he's actually somewhat possessed by a demon, and if he does not feed on like the light that people give off as they live, then he just kind of goes insane. So
it's consumed by the darkness.
Exactly. And so Dagger's constantly feeding him light to kind of cool herself down as well as satisfy his hunger. And so they have this like mutual like need for each other. So there are times that they're like, God, I really don't want to be here. Especially in the early times, they just want to go back home. Well, Tyrone doesn't. He's kind of insane in the beginning because he's consumed by this demon.
Well, yeah.
Fun stuff.
Naturally.
But it's really interesting. It's really great to see their development because they ran away as kids. So you're seeing them grow into adults as well, kind of taking responsibility for what they've done, deciding that this is where they need to be, this is where they want to be. Even after Dagger's parents find her, they're like, hey, you can come back home, we understand, blah, 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 blah. She's like, no, I can't, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is what I have to do, this is my mission. And it's really great to see that depth and that character development that they have. And that's one reason why I love them so much. You know how much I love character development.
That's all you talk about is character development.
It's important.
If you love, that's not a bad thing to love.
No.
Right.
So, and is that why they're your favorite?
It really is. I mean, I've read a decent amount of comics, and a lot of people, like, characters do develop. I just think that it's interesting, like, them, the Runaways, since they start at such a young age, the beginning comics are super childish. And then as you get into the later comics, you see this maturity come out of them, they understand their responsibilities, and it's something that I personally can relate to, because I've definitely had those times where I'm just like, I really didn't want to do my homework.
Yeah.
And then you learn throughout the years, and I can be like, I was totally just like that. So it's really cool to see that. So yes,
Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger, my favorite heroes right there.
I was going to say, I don't read enough of Cloak and Dagger, because whenever we talk about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds really cool, I want to do that. The Cloak and Dagger. So who's your favorite?
My favorite currently is Carol Danvers,
Love Carol
aka
Danvers.
Captain Marvel. I didn't really pick up like older versions of Avengers for like a while, and I didn't really know about her. I knew she existed, but then I was actually watching Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the cartoon.
Yeah.
And she showed up, and I was like, "Oh, there's Miss Marvel. That's kind of cool. I know she exists, but I haven't really seen much of her." And I don't know if it was. Oh, I'm gonna forget her name. I think it's Kimberly something. It's the same woman who voices Commander Shepard in Mass Effect.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know if it was her voice acting or what, but I was like, this woman is awesome. She is amazing. And so I like started reading her comics, and then I started reading like the Captain Marvel comics and everything, and I just love her so much. I love that she's got that military edge. Like, I grew up like an hour away from a military base, so I know all about that life. My dad was in the Air Force, all that stuff. So I know that vibe, and I love that she's a major in the... I think she is a major in the Air Force.
Yeah.
So she technically outranks even Captain America, which I also love. I love that she always fights for what's right, but she fights within the government is also kind of what I liked, because at first when I was reading Civil War, I was upset with her. I was like, Carol, you're on the wrong side. What are you doing? Get back over here. But as I was reading, I kind of got it. It's like, no, we can't defy the American people. This is what I do. This is what I serve. She sticks to what she believes in almost to a fault. She is fiercely loyal to her friends, and she's given her life up on like more than one occasion just to save the entire world. So like, she's crazy epic. She's always awesome, but she's very human. Like, she's got flaws. She cusses. She makes mistakes. And she's also a huge Star Wars nerd, which her cat's named Chewie, and her ship is named Harrison. That's also what I love, is that there is this quirkiness to her, and there is this humor. And she's actually a fully fledged out person who also happens to be this very hard, tough military woman. And I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that she's able to be compatible with people like Captain America, and I love that she's dating Rhodey right now. With
Yeah,
Zora
true.
Hall. So it's just, I just can't find one thing that I don't just absolutely love about her. She'll do something, I'm like, yep, following you all the way, Cap. Let's go. I'm just ready.
Well, I mean, I think people are starting to realize now just how awesome of a character she is, and that's why people are calling for a Captain Marvel movie, or at least for a character to be introduced into the Marvel universe, and it really speaks to the personal connection that we all have with our own superheroes, because we can tie them into something that we can pull from either memories or things we want to be. Like you were talking about Cloak and Dagger being drawn from you growing up and being like, yeah, I connect to them a whole lot. It's like I've got all these responsibilities now. And you were talking about how you love Carol Danvers because of like the traits she has that you recognize, and also the fact that she comes from military and you've got that military background in you. And I think that's what I really love about superheroes, is that everybody's got their own. And I never get tired of hearing someone's personal favorite superhero, because when you ask them who their favorite is, you see their face like light up, and they just like start talking about it. And it's like, this is why, because of this and this for me, and I had this in my past, and that's why I connect. And I love hearing about them, and that's why I love talking about them. That's why we're having this.
Yeah. That's why superheroes are awesome.
Yeah, I know. Because everyone can connect to them, either that or it's an ideal that you want to be. So, well...
You go, comic book writers.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I guess it's my turn. And since you two talked about Marvel characters, I'm going to talk about my favorite DC character. I can never decide who my favorite top 3 or 4 is. That always fluctuates. But the one that I'm talking about is Martian Manhunter. I absolutely love him so much. John Jones.
It's amazing.
It's so cool. Yeah. The thing I loved about him in Justice League, and the thing that I really connected to, an ideal that I wanted to have, is that he was the Rock of that Justice League, in that series. He was in the Watchtower. He was telling them what was going on, and in the series, the first episode started with him being introduced to them, where he was, kidnapped by the government, after he had come here from Mars, after in the series, I believe, this alien species wiped out after an alien species wiped out his entire families and his planet, so he's the last one of his kind. And so Superman saves him, and so he realizes he doesn't really have a home, so his new home is Earth, and so he pushes past his tragedy, and he looks to the Earth to protect it, because that's his new home. And so he's in the Watchtower, learning to adjust to this new life he has. But he's also the center of the group. He started out in the comics as this Martian, and his brother was born without telepathic powers, and he resented the Martians for it, the Martian Manhunters, and then because of that, he invented this plague that fed off of their telepathic energy. So whenever they used it, they got caught with it. And what it essentially did was it plagued on it so much that it caused their brains and their bodies to actually burst into flames, and so that's how they died. So Martian Manhunter actually lost his wife and daughter and, complete family because of that. And so, he ended up coming to Earth. And the cool thing about him originally is that he comes to Earth and he becomes a detective.
Yeah.
And he solves crimes using his many powers that we'll cover in a second. But the doctor, the scientist that brings him there, he realizes that just what happened to him. So he's like, I'm going to create a new memory for you, because he almost loses it completely, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, after you see your family burst into flames because your brother was upset at them.
Exactly.
I mean, that leaves
Exactly.
a scar.
Your whole planet is dead.
So
That's the most severe PTSD you could
yeah,
ever
right. I know.
have to suffer under.
But the cool thing is that he programmed his memories so that he had all these memories of science fiction. So he's, Ray Bradbury is one of the influences in this new memory. And it's incredibly cool to see, because it's not something you think about. Just like a superhero that's got Ray Bradbury and other science fiction writers in his head as his memory. He eventually learns his past and then decides that he's going to become a champion of Earth and takes on the name Martian Manhunter. And the only thing I don't like about Martian Manhunter, and this is nothing about him, is that DC right now hasn't given him his own series in New 52. Because I want that so badly, and he's in Justice League of America, but that's kind of being changed now.
Yeah,
that's being
I think
changed
they're
up.
shifting out the heroes right now.
Exactly. So I want him to have his own series because he's my favorite, and I want to read him. Darn it. But he's definitely my favorite because of just what he can do. He did all this cool stuff. He was the Rock for everybody, and that's what I latched onto. I guess now would be a good time to talk about honorable mentions. So,
Dan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like a couple of my favorites include like Iron Fist, The Runaways. Nightcrawler's always awesome. Nightcrawler and Colossus,
loves
always love
Nightcrawler.
them. And then last on my honorable mention list is Shadowcat and Lockheed.
But yeah, my honorable mentions would have to be, I love Wonder Woman, love me some Diana, I love Captain America, I love Batman, Nightwing, and Bucky Barnes. But like my big ones right now are Wiccan and Hulkling and the Young Avengers. Oh, I can't forget Kamala Khan, the new Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
And Batgirl.
yeah, Batgirl. Yeah, true, Batgirl. Yeah, how'd you forget Batgirl?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think she's just kind of a given in my brain all the time.
I think you're still sad about Gail Simone
I am
not
so
riding
sad,
anymore.
so I don't want to think about
So, true. That's a good point. Let me see my honorable mentions. I mean, Rocket Raccoon, Rocket Raccoon, Peter Quill, Captain America I've already talked about. A new one that really came out of nowhere recently that I'm really starting to love is actually Gwen Stacy as Spider-Woman. Another one that I've really enjoyed lately is the most recent run of Hawkeye. So I think those would definitely be my favorite honorable mentions. And, this is not the last time we're going to be talking about our favorites, because in the future we're going to be talking about our favorite villains, and we're going to be talking about our favorite side characters.
Like, not superhero characters.
Yeah, I guess not superhero. Not like the A, B, C. I think
Like
we're talking about
Alfreds.
people that don't necessarily have their own
The J.
series.
Jonah Jamesons.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't have their own comic book series necessarily. So we'll be talking about that. So stay tuned for that, because we all have good picks for those. And I'm really excited to talk about mine.
Yeah, and if you guys have yours, please comment below, let us know, and we'll give you a shout out.
Exactly, yeah. We'll give you guys shout outs. So tell us who your favorites are,
And
superhero
why.
villains, yeah, and
We'd
why.
love to hear why.
Yeah. So favorite superhero and why, favorite villain and why, favorite side character and why. Just let us know, because we love to hear it. So I believe we have something new this week.
Yes.
What we're talking about is instead of the little box this week, we're now coming up with something called the awesome box.
Ta-da!
So every time we have something really awesome happen during the week, we're gonna put them or it inside the awesome box.
Positive reinforcement.
I believe you're the one that came up with the awesome box, Tessa, because you had the idea. So why don't you go ahead and talk about who's going in the awesome box?
This week I saw the Box Trolls, which was absolutely adorable. A wonderful, the animation is gorgeous.
Stop motion, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
most of it's stop motion. There's like a touch of like CGI and like the out shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's stop motion, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. There's like all kinds of people that I didn't know were in it until like the credits rolled.
Mhm.
Like Simon Pegg is in it, Nick Frost is in it, Ben Kingsley.
Tracy Morgan.
Yes, Tracy
Yeah.
Morgan, and that IT guy, Iode. I can't say his
Oh.
name right.
Yeah, the guy from IT Crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's also in it. He's great, and it's a really cute story, and it's all about like unconventional families. Like it doesn't matter, gay, straight, box, trolls, not, whatever. Like a family is built by love and support, but it's also a story about you define who you are. Like where you come from is important, but in the end, you define who you are and what you do. So that was just really, really cool and really, really cute. And like I haven't seen that out of a kids movie in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At least not told that in a way that wasn't completely trite and awful. So I'm gonna put the animators
I like it.
Okay, yeah.
in here
I like it a
because
lot.
they did a beautiful, beautiful job, and it's a crazy creative world, and it's wonderful. So they're in the
Yeah.
Awesome Box.
Ooh,
Sweet.
awesome bugs.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So there you go. Awesome Box, brand new thing we are doing. So stay tuned for that. That being said, thank you so much, everyone.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to do another podcast, episode 6.
Yeah.
So we're rolling. We're keeping on rolling. So thanks, Dan. It's okay. So thank you guys. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So all right. Thanks everybody again for like the 4th time. We'll see you guys next week. I'm John Dwyer.
Dan Kiefer.
Tessa Barlotta.
We're Nerds in a Box. Have a good night, everybody.